In the next 36 months, the British way of life is going to fundamentally end. I'm not talking about a recession. I'm not talking about inflation. I am talking about the end of the freedom of movement as you know it. Right now, as you watch this video, the Treasury is staring into a financial abyss that terrifies them. It is a $25 billion black hole that is opening up beneath the British economy, and they have decided that you are the one who is going to fill it. For 100 years, the deal was simple. You buy a car, you pay your road tax, you pay for fuel, and the road is yours. That deal is dead. Hidden in the small print of the latest budget documents, buried where they hoped you wouldn't find it, is the framework for the most sinister wealth extraction system ever designed in the UK. They call it road pricing. The media calls it pay per mile. But let's call it what it actually is, a digital turnstile on your driveway. They are telling you this is about saving the planet. They are telling you it's about fairness for electric vehicle drivers. That is a lie. This is about total granular surveillance of your movement and the monetization of every single inch of tarmac you drive on. And the terrifying part? The infrastructure to track you is an ET coming in 2030. It is already being bolted onto lampposts outside your house right now. By the end of this video, I'm going to show you the leaked government papers that prove this is happening. I'm going to show you the math that proves why net zero is actually a tax trap. And I am going to show you exactly how much this is going to cost you, down to the penny, when the switch is finally flipped. To understand why this is happening, you have to ignore what the politicians say and look at what the accountants are panicking about. The UK government is addicted to a very specific drug: fuel duty. Every time you fill up your car at Shell or BP, the government takes a massive cut. Currently, fuel duty and VAT on fuel bring in roughly 25 billion to 30 billion a year. That is a staggering amount of money. To put that into perspective, that pays for the entire police force or a huge chunk of the NHS budget. It is easy money. It is liquid cash that flows into the Treasury every single day. But here is the problem. That revenue stream is dying. The government spent the last decade bullying, bribing and nudging you into buying electric vehicles. They told you to go green. They gave you grants. They told you that if you bought a Tesla or a Nissan Leaf, you would escape the taxman. And for a while you did. But the Treasury made a fatal miscalculation. They didn't realize how quickly that $25 billion would evaporate. As millions of drivers switched to electric, they stopped buying petrol. They stopped paying fuel duty. The cash cow of the British economy is being slaughtered by the government's own policy. Do you really think the Treasury, an institution that would tax the air you breathe if they could figure out how to meter it, is just going to wave goodbye to 25 billion a year? Absolutely not. The Office for Budget Responsibility, OBR, has already flagged this. They have issued code red warnings to the Chancellor. They have explicitly stated that unless a new tax is invented to replace fuel duty, the UK faces a fiscal catastrophe, so they need a replacement. But they can't just tax electricity, because that would hit people heating their homes or boiling a kettle. They need a mechanism that targets drivers specifically. They need to decouple the tax from the fuel and attach it to the movement itself. Enter the pay-per-mile concept. The idea is brutally simple. You are charged a fee for every single mile your vehicle moves. Drive to work, that's $4. Drive to the shops, that's $2. Visit your mum in the next town over, that's $15. How do you introduce a surveillance tax that would cause riots in the street if you announced it overnight? You don't. You do it slowly. You boil the frog. We have been watching the beta test for this system for the last 5 years, and most people didn't even realize they were the guinea pigs. Look at London. Look at the ULEZ, ultra-low emission zone. When Sadiq Khan expanded the ULEZ to the very borders of the M25, the media focused on the clean air narrative. They argued about particulate matter and NOx levels, But that was a distraction. The ULEZ expansion wasn't about air quality, it was about camera density. To enforce the ULEZ, Transport for London had to install thousands of ANPR, automatic number plate recognition cameras, on every corner, every junction, and every rat run in Greater London. They built a digital net that captures millions of number plates a day. Now ask yourself, once those cameras are up, and the software is live, and the payment processing system is connected to the DVLA database, how hard is it to switch the mode from zone enforcement to distance tracking? It is a software update. That is it. The infrastructure for pay-per-mile is already physically built in our major cities. The cameras are staring at you right now. The clean air zones in Birmingham, Bristol, Sheffield and Glasgow, they are the same thing. They are the skeleton of the new tax system, waiting for the flesh to be added. Let's talk about the people who are going to get hit first, the early adopters. If you bought an electric vehicle in the last 3 years, you have been the victim of a classic bait and switch. You were sold a dream. You were told that if you paid the premium for an EV, if you put up with the range anxiety, the broken chargers and the depreciation, you would be rewarded with tax-free motoring. That promise has been broken. From April 2025, EV owners will start paying vehicle excise duty, road tax. But that is just the appetizer. The main course is the pay-per-mile levy, which is slated to hit EV drivers by 2028. The proposed rate that has been leaked in Treasury discussions is around 3 pence per mile. Now 3p sounds like nothing, right? It sounds like loose change. This is how they get you. They use small numbers to hide big costs. Let's do the math. The average UK driver does about 8,000 miles a year. At 3p a mile, that's $240. That doesn't sound too bad, but remember, this is on top of the new road tax you'll be paying. And it is on top of the cost of electricity, which has skyrocketed. But 3p is just the starting bid. When VAT was introduced in the UK, it was 10%. Now it's 20%. When insurance premium tax was introduced, it was 2.5%. Now it's 12%. Taxes never go down, they only go up. Once the mechanism is in place, the Chancellor has a dial on their desk. Need to fund a shortfall in the NHS? Turn the dial to 4p. Need to pay for a war? Turn the dial to 5p. And this assumes a flat rate. But the system won't remain flat for long. The technology allows for dynamic pricing. Imagine this. You need to drive to work at 8 a.m. The system knows this is peak time. So the rate isn't 3p. It's 10p. You drive on a motorway, premium rate. You drive into a city centre, super premium rate. They can turn the roads into a market where only the rich can afford to drive during the day, and the rest of us are forced onto the bus or forced to drive at midnight. This is the Uberification of the road network. When it rains, the price of an Uber goes up. When there is traffic, the price of the road will go up. The difference is, you don't have to take an Uber, but you do have to go to work. They will sell this as managing demand. They will say, we are just encouraging people to travel at different times to reduce traffic. But you can't tell a shift worker to start their shift at 11 a.m. You can't tell a parent to drop their kids at school at 9 p.m. Managing demand is code for pricing the poor off the road. So how are they going to track you? This is the question that brings up the most terrifying privacy implications. The government has 2 options, and both of them are a nightmare for civil liberties. Option 1 is the odometer check. This is the soft launch. They will tell you that every year when you get your MOT, the garage will record your mileage and send it to the DVLA. You will then get a bill in the post. They will sell this as privacy-friendly. But this system is full of holes. The government knows it will be riddled with fraud. So, they will use the inevitable fraud as an excuse to move to option 2. Option 2 is the black box. This is the endgame. This is what the technocrats really want. They want every vehicle to be fitted with a GPS telematics unit. A black box that communicates directly with the central government server in real time. This box won't just record how far you drive. It will record where you are, when you are there, and how fast you are going. We already see this with black box insurance for young drivers. If you corner too hard, if you drive at night, your premium goes up. Now imagine that power in the hands of the HMRC. Imagine receiving a speeding ticket, not because a policeman saw you, but because your car's own data connection snitched on you. Imagine the government having a complete, searchable history of every movement you have made for the last 10 years. This is the creation of a digital prison. Once the data exists, scope creep is inevitable. The police will demand access to the pay-per-mile database to fight crime. Divorce lawyers will subpoena the data to prove infidelity. Insurance companies will buy the data to adjust your premiums based on risky behavior. Oh, we see you drive through a high-crime postcode every night. That's a risk. Your premium just went up 20%. And what about the kill switch? This is the ultimate fear. If your car is connected to a central government server for billing, that connection is a two-way street. If you don't pay your bill, click. Your car doesn't start. If your social credit score drops, click. You are limited to a 5-mile radius. If there is a climate lockdown or a national emergency, click. Private travel is suspended. This sounds like a dystopian novel, but the technology to do this is already embedded in the smart city infrastructure being rolled out across the UK. Let's look at the economics again. What happens to the value of your current car? If you own a car right now, you are sitting on a depreciating asset. But under a pay-per-mile system, the economics of car ownership collapse completely. If you live in a rural area, if you are one of the millions of people in places like Cornwall, Wales, or the Scottish Highlands who need a car to survive, you are going to be disproportionately punished. You drive further because you have to. You don't have a tube station on your doorstep. This tax is a wealth transfer from the rural working class to the urban elite. It is a penalty for not living in a city. And what happens to the second-hand car market? Who is going to buy a high-mileage diesel estate car if it comes with a tax liability that costs more than the car is worth? Currently, you might buy a small diesel hatchback because it gets 60 mph. It's cheap to run. But under pay-per-mile, a 60 mph ground diesel pays the same tax rate as a V8 Range Rover if it's a flat rate, or potentially more if they add an emissions surcharge on top. This completely destroys the value proposition of economical internal combustion cars. We are going to see a used car crunch where millions of perfectly good vehicles become economically unviable. They will be scrapped, crushed and melted down, not because they are broken, but because the tax system has made them toxic. You will switch to the subscription model. You will use Uber. You will use state-approved transport. You will own nothing. This is exactly what the World Economic Forum talks about when they say, you will own nothing and be happy. The pay-per-mile tax is the mechanism they use to take the car away from you without banning it. They don't need to ban it. They just need to price you out of it. So what do? I am not here to just give you the doom and gloom. I am here to give you a strategy. The system is being built, but it is not fully locked in yet. And even when it is, there are ways to position yourself to minimize the damage. Here is your survival blueprint for the pay-per-mile era. Strategy 1 is the pre-1973 loophole. Currently, cars built before January 1st, 1983 are tax-exempt and MOT-exempt. Historically, the government has been very reluctant to touch the classic car exemption because the lobby is powerful. While they might eventually close this, for now, owning a historic vehicle is one of the few ways to legally opt out of the modern surveillance grid. These cars don't have ECUs, they don't have e-call systems, they cannot be tracked digitally. Investing in a usable, maintainable classic isn't just nostalgia anymore. It's a privacy hedge. Strategy 2 is the low-tech daily driver. If you can't drive a classic, look for the sweet spot era of cars, roughly 2005 to 2015. These cars are modern enough to be safe and reliable, but old enough to lack the integrated telematics and over-the-air update capabilities of new cars. A 2010 Honda Civic or Toyota Corolla is invisible to the central server. When the pay-per-mile system comes in, they will try to force these cars onto the odometer check system. While you will still have to pay, you avoid the real-time GPS tracking. Strategy 3 is political pressure. The only reason the poll tax was defeated in the 1990s was mass non-compliance and political fury. The pay-per-mile tax is the poll tax on wheels. Write to your MP. Support organizations like the Alliance of British Drivers. But more importantly, do not comply with the soft nudges. Do not voluntarily install a smart insurance box for a small discount. Do not voluntarily share your data with car manufacturers. Every time you say yes to a little bit of tracking, you are helping them build the data set they need to tax you. The pay-per-mile road tax is not about fairness. It is not about the environment. It is about saving a bankrupt Treasury by turning the British motorist into a cash machine. It is about creating a system where freedom of movement is a luxury service available only to the highest bidder. They are counting on you being too busy, too tired, or too distracted to notice the cameras going up. They are counting on you believing the lie that this is only for EVs. But now you know the truth. The trap is set. The clock is ticking. 2028 is closer than you think. If you found this analysis valuable, if you want to stay one step ahead of the financial traps they are setting for you, then you need to subscribe to this channel. I will keep digging through the white papers. I will keep exposing the loopholes. I will keep telling you the truth that the mainstream media is paid to ignore. Don't let them catch you sleeping. I'll see you in the next report.